What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I'm here for day, I believe it's 14 of training camp. There's a few things that actually need to be talked about. From my understanding, though, there actually was not really much of a practice. They just did a walkthrough today. So there's really not going to be a lot of, training camp, like, play-by-plays and stuff like that, because it was just a walkthrough from my understanding. Tomorrow and Thursday are expected to be, tomorrow and Thursday are expected to be the joint practices between the Dolphins and the Atlanta Falcons before the game on Saturday. There is, other things to talk about because today is cut down day. So the Dolphins did have to do some cut downs, roster trim downs down to 85. They also executed a trade. And yesterday they made some roster moves that I didn't get to yet. I was going to make a short video yesterday, but I ended up not having time. So I'm just going to add that in today. So just real quick, let me mention that. And, we'll discuss a little bit more about those things. But Allen Hurns got injured. It's a hand injury, I think it is. And he's expected to be out for 3 months. And so the Dolphins are going to be placing him on injured reserve. So down goes another receiver. And, Allen Hurns probably wasn't, if you're being honest, he probably wasn't going to make the roster anyway. But they're, as of right now, they're placing him on injured reserve. They also cut yesterday tight end Carson Meyer and brought in wide receiver Khalil. Oh man, why am I blanking on his name now? God damn it! I literally just thought about it earlier, and now I can't remember his last name. Khalil something. They brought in another wide receiver. So just another camp body, that's probably not going to make it onto the roster at the end of the day. So it is what it is. But yeah, so let's actually get into this, though, because there are more moves and stuff that were made today, and I want to start getting into those details. So first, let's talk about Dolphins roster cuts, 85-man roster. This comes from Kevin Nogle on SB Nation, the Phinsider. The Miami Dolphins have completed the first of their 2021 roster cuts, moving their 90-man off-season roster limit down to 85 enforced starting today. The team had until 4 p.m. to make the moves, 4 p.m. Eastern. Miami has a roster exemption for guard Derval Quiros-Neto, who is a member of the NFL's International Pathway Program, which allows them to keep 86 players moving forward. Next Tuesday, August 24th, the roster limit will move from 85 down to 80, with the following Tuesday, August 31st, the league moving the limit to the regular season 53-man limit. The team announced their roster moves Tuesday, including the acquisition of tackle Greg Little and a trade with the Carolina Panthers. So the Dolphins executed a trade for a tackle, as we sort of kind of expected them to do. At the very least, there were news and reports out that the Dolphins were looking for tackle help and were willing to trade for it. We will get into some more details on that in a minute, but let's continue on. They also waived injured cornerback Jalen Askew and waived tackle Jonathan Hubbard, defensive tackle Jerome Johnson, guard Tyler Mars, and tackle Timon Paris. So if you notice there, they brought in that tackle from the Panthers, which I will give you more details on in just a minute. But they got rid of 3 players, in the offensive line room. And I think that they are still a ways away. I mean, look, honestly, I I just still have question marks on that offensive line. We'll see how it plays out. So that's the trim down. They got rid of those 5 guys. Additionally, the team placed wide receiver Allen Hurns on injured reserve, as I mentioned, ending his 2021 season unless the team reaches an injury settlement with Hurns. If that were to happen, once he is fully recovered from a wrist injury that required surgery this week and is expected to sideline him for 3 months, he could be re-signed by the Dolphins or any other team in the league. More cuts are possible tomorrow if the Dolphins are awarded any waivers, which is definitely possible. You know, the Dolphins love to do that. They love to pick up guys off the waiver wire, and so perhaps they will. Okay, so now that I have done that, I am going to move on to, let's do the whole split screen thingy. Let's go over here, and now we are going to discuss a little bit of Greg Little. So Dolphins get some offensive line help. Miami Dolphins have traded for former Carolina Panthers second-round pick Greg Little. On the day teams need to get down to an 85-player limit, the Miami Dolphins added a player when they swung a trade with the Carolina Panthers. The Dolphins acquired offensive Greg Little in exchange for a 2022 seventh-round pick, so we gave up a seventh-round pick from next year. It's obviously not that much. However, you know, before we even get further into the details, I gotta say though, and even, you know, even from the beginning, look, unless the Dolphins were gonna go trading for, like, you know, Niang from the Chiefs, or, you know, Remmers from the Chiefs, or one of those guys, like, not necessarily blue chip, but, you know, an established veteran who, you know, or a player who you can expect to actually get, you know, good quality play from. The reason why I'm saying this is because from what I'm seeing so far, Greg Little's been a disappointment for the Carolina Panthers as a second-round pick. And so this is going to be another example of the Dolphins, you know, bringing in, you know, a reclamation project and trying to just see if maybe, hopefully, it works out, which, you know, I think could be a potential problem. But even more so, if that's the case, they honestly could have probably just waited until he got cut. I mean, if he's been that much of a disappointment to the Panthers, right, then maybe they could have just waited until he got cut and could have signed him without having to give up a seventh-round pick. But it is what it is. That is what they did, and so here we are. The Dolphins acquired offensive Greg Little. Oh, I mentioned that. So let's keep going down. Let's see. A second-round pick in 2019. Little played 14 games with 6 starts over the past 2 seasons. So, you know, not much there. He does have a little bit of time, you know, in the game, 6 starts, but obviously he's kind of fallen off, and the Panthers are, you know, been disappointed. He missed time in 2019 with a concussion and an ankle injury, so he's got some injury issues as well, which is not particularly great. And an ankle injury landed him on IR last December. Little succeeded former Dolphins first-round pick Laramie Tunsil as left tackle at Ole Miss and was the 37th overall selection in 2019, though he never quite realized his potential with the Panthers. Great. Because that's what we need, right? So, I mean, we'll see, man. We'll see if he can turn it around. But, you know, you just cut 3 players from the depth, you know, and in that room for competition on the offensive line. You got rid of a guard and 2 tackles. To bring in, you know, this guy, not to mention they gave the injury settlement to DJ Fluker. You brought in this guy who might not be, you know, even close to an answer. So we'll see, man. Hopefully. I just, you know, they haven't given me much reason to believe that they know how to make the correct moves on this offensive line. So at the very least, certainly on the offensive line, you know, but we'll see. The Panthers drafted Greg Little back in 2019, thinking he could develop into the starting left tackle for years to come. After dealing with a nagging ankle injury, the Panthers made a move to trade for Russell Okung to help solidify. So that was a guy we could have gotten, but, you know, instead the Panthers get him, and then, you know, we take their... Nothing against the player, but we take their trash, essentially. We take their fucking cast-offs and their, you know, whatever. Great. Congratulations, Dolphins. They get Okung to help solidify that tackle spot in the 2020 season, which shrunk Little's role with the new coaching staff. Unfortunately, that move didn't work out either, as Okung missed 9 games, which is fair. But Okung, Russell Okung is one of those players that, the Dolphins could have potentially looked at to trade for. Instead, they take the guy who Russell Okung replaced and who has been a disappointment. Lovely. Even then, the staff turned to Trent Scott over Little. The truth is, injuries have really derailed his development. He also missed time due to an ankle injury and dealt with concussions the past season. With Taylor Moton being locked up to a 4-year deal and Cameron Irving and Brady Christensen being added this offseason, the Panthers just simply found better options. Well, the Dolphins better hope that they can get something out of him, because this offensive line could absolutely be an Achilles heel for this team. Panthers second-year head coach Matt Rule was asked about Little's progress just last week. I think he's progressing, Rule said. I think he's way further ahead than he was in the spring. He's got stiff competition ahead of him, but I think Greg is showing progress. Well, obviously you didn't like it that much. You were willing to trade him away and for just fucking, a 7th-round pick. So, that says some things. I'll really have a better feel over the next 3 days. I think the next 3 days are the days I'll have a feel for the offensive line and fullbacks. Well, apparently he didn't like it very much because he sent him away. At the very least, this is a low-cost move by the Dolphins to see if Little can come close to the player most draft analysts believed could become a big-time NFL player. As a point of reference, his NFL.com draft profile made his NFL player comparison 4-time Pro Bowl left tackle Dwayne Brown. I mean, look, if he could live up to that, that would be great. But so far, the track record doesn't point in that direction. So, this could be a questionable move. Yes, it's low cost for the Dolphins. I get it. But if you're going to execute, again, they probably could have just waited, and he likely would have gotten cut. Or at least there's a good chance he would have gotten cut. Or if not, they probably could have waited and gotten, somewhat of an equal player from some team that, cuts a player, right? So, and not have had to trade any draft capital. But, we'll see what happens. The Dolphins clearly could use some help on their offensive line, particularly at the tackle spots. It's an issue we examined a week ago after a tweet from former NFL GM Michael Lombardi saying the Dolphins were inquiring about available tackles on the trade market. While scouts believe Little could play guard in the NFL, it makes sense for the Dolphins to look at him at tackle, where Austin Jackson and Adam Paakey both had rough outings in the preseason against the Bears. Other tackles on the depth Dolphins roster include Jesse Davis, Jonathan Hubbard, who just got released, rookie 7th-round Larnell Coleman, Timon Paris, who also just got released, along with a handful of guards who can swing to tackle in a pinch. Yeah, so, but obviously, as we know, 2 of those guys have gotten, released, Jonathan Hubbard and Timon Paris. So, that depth has shrunk. Also, real quick, I do want to read through Alan Poupar's, just to add to the information today, because Brian Flores had a press conference today ahead of his the walkthrough that they did. So I want to give you the bits of information from there, because the rest of it is pretty much done. There's not really a lot to give you and talk about today. It was mostly just these roster moves, the cut downs, and this tackle that they traded for. So excuse me. Let's go ahead and wrap this up with what Brian Flores had to say in his press conference. So, Flores, August 17th, takeaways. Here we go. With the Falcons coming to town this week, Brian Flores is asked how tempted the Dolphins were to stay at 3 and take Kyle Pitts. Flores, not surprisingly, says he's excited about the draft that they came away with. We're happy with the guys we selected. So very generic, bland, and really no information there. Flores declines to look back on whether Pitts was a consideration, saying he's focused on the players on the roster. Very PC. Flores confirms that Allen Hurns will need surgery as a result of a freak play in practice, and Hurns will be placed on injured reserve. He's disappointed, as we're disappointed. All right. They'll probably end up just giving him an injury settlement. The 4 wide receivers who have been injured while not practicing today, and who have been injured will not practice today, and Flores said we'll see as far as the rest of the week. The four Devontae Parker, Will Fuller, Albert Wilson, and Preston Wilson. or Williams, excuse me. Jalen Phillips didn't play against the Bears, but he'll be practicing Tuesday when the Dolphins have a walkthrough. He was held out against Chicago as a precautionary measure against having a setback. So, I mean, look, you know, a lot of people keep saying that, well, you know, Will Fuller doesn't, he's a veteran and blah, 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 all these reasons why he, you know, they don't need to rush him along. Yeah, bro, but, I mean, it's just at this point, and with every day, this is just how I feel. At this point, and with every day going forward, it's just another day where Tua and the starting offense, you know, is missing out on opportunities to gel and gain chemistry and get reps together, because now, again, but these, and the thing that adds to it is these are supposed to be, you know, his top targets. I mean, obviously Will Fuller's gonna, you know, be missing the first game of the season anyway, but, you know, Devontae Parker, Albert Wilson, Preston, all of these guys are supposed to be, you know, at the top of the depth chart, and they're just missing considerable time. So, you know, to me, that's not preferable. I get you don't want to get them injured. There's no reason to rush them, you know, particularly Will Fuller back, especially with him missing the first game anyway. But I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see. Where was I? Flores repeats that he likes all the running backs, saying they all bring something different, a lot of different qualities. Thought they all played well in the preseason game. Tua did a good job in the pocket of moving his feet to avoid pressure, though Flores says that's just part of quarterbacking. Charlie Frye is the coach relaying the play call to Tua because he's the one who spends the most time with him as his position coach, Flores says. Comes down to conversations coach and player would have had in meetings. That's cool. And you know what? As far as, look, you know, a lot of people are saying that it makes sense that the play calls are going through Charlie Frye, and I get that to some degree. But at the same time, I mean, you now have like 3 people. It started off as 2 offensive coordinators, and now you have 3 guys that are in some way, shape, or form to some degree playing that role, right? So, you know, I mean, because it would, I don't know. It seems you have Stoodsville, who's the run game coordinator / offensive coordinator. Then you have Godsey, who's the passing game coordinator / OC. And apparently those 2 guys come up with the main game plan, you know, in their respective departments. They put that together and talk with Charlie Frye, but then it's Charlie Frye who gives the play calls. Well, why not just make Charlie Frye the fucking offensive coordinator then? I don't know. Whatever, dude. It's like I said, you know, one of my big issues with this coaching staff, with this regime as a whole, is their abilities to evaluate and develop not just players but also coaches. So we'll see how all that plays out. Flores says he declines to reveal who the play caller is because he wants to keep things internal. Okay, bro. Coaches talk, then somebody tells Frye something like wristband 33, and then Frye relays that to Tua. Really? Okay. And when he says wristband 33, I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure he means the wristband of play calls that Tua has on his arm. So in other words, then, coaches talk. So I guess Stoodsville and Godsey talk, and then they say, hey, we're going to go with this play that's off the wristband. So then they tell Charlie Frye to tell Tua that. I guess, okay. Vince Beagle was in a walking boot last week in Chicago. He's taking it day to day. Dural Quirasnito is making a lot of improvement, but got banged up a bit last week, which explains why he didn't play against Chicago, hoping to get him into the game this weekend. So there you have it. That's really all I got for you. Just, you know, some tidbits from Flores' press conference, and obviously the news of the day, which is, you know, regarding the roster trim downs and, you know, the roster moves and the trade and so on and so forth. So that's what I got for you today on day 14 of training camp. Obviously, like I said, tomorrow and the day after we have joint practices with the Falcons, and then our next preseason game is against the Falcons on Saturday, for which I will most likely be joining Reason's live stream for that game. Again, I intend to do live streams of my own during the season for the regular season games, but for now I'm just going to join in on his. And again, I may join in on his anyway during the live streams as well. You know, just to be you know, tied in and linked in with that. But yeah, so anyway, make sure you join me or him, either way, because it's a good time. But yeah, so we got a busy week coming up. Obviously, those joint practices in the game on Saturday. So let's see how things progress. As you guys know, and just real quick to wrap it up, I don't get really emotionally involved until the beginning of the season. This is all just calculated evaluation for me and data gathering. And so we'll see, man. I still have my questions and my concerns about this team and this roster. You know, as I've told you, my top 3 concerns are, you know, injuries / COVID and how that's affected us to this point and how it's going to continue to affect us. Although, if I'm keeping it real, that's actually probably the 3rd biggest concern at this point. My 2nd biggest concern is depth. Just in general, not just on the offensive line, but also in the secondary and even throughout that defense. And, you know, even at wide receiver and stuff like that, right? So just general depth. And then my top concern is, of course, the offensive line. So we'll see how all that plays out. We still do got 2 more preseason games, 2 more cut down periods. And then, you know, middle of September, we have just under a month before we play our first regular season game against the Patriots. All right, with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And, of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.